Money 105.5 with Glenn Spillman and Charlton Curry. This is Epic Sports Radio.
Welcome to the show. My name is Charlton Curry, along with Glenn Spillman, Stacey Harris, and Big C, and we are talking Epic Sports Radio. We are, in fact, going to say bienvenidos to our Latin American audience. So thank you for listening all over the world. And numbers don't lie, Glenn. Epic Sports Radio is now the number one hottest sports show in all of California.
Yes, sir. West Coast. West Side, baby.
West Side,
Ice Cube would say.
That's what he would say.
Yep.
And all of you, we love talking NFL football. We talk NBA basketball, Major League Baseball, but also soccer and MMA are huge, too.
Yeah.
But, Big C, I know we have you on the line. We'll also have a guest, a two-time Super Bowl champion on the show chiming in, too. But, Big C, I know we love talking NFL football, but before we come to you, I want to have people know that in order to advertise Glenn, they simply need to call you.
Yeah, give me a call, 916-633-4851. And I do want to mention that today's show is brought to you by Sierra Walton. She's done a lot with us as far as our graphic design and a lot of the logos that you see floating around social media and Facebook and whatnot. She is awesome at what she does. Let her take care of you and whatever you need as far as graphic design goes. If you want to get a hold of her, you can give me a call. But go to her website, sierrawaltongd.com, and take a look at her stuff.
Well, that's excellent stuff. And also, speaking of taking a look at things, I just want everyone to know that this is a great Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, everybody.
Everyone for coming into 2016 with a bang. And speaking of 2016, Big C, I know you're big on the playoffs because they're happening this week coming up. They're also inducting some people into the Hall of Fame, or at least getting them voted into the Hall of Fame. But I know there's a lot happening with the football coaching carousel, and you followed football for about 40 years as a broadcaster and also coach and player. What are your thoughts on some of the happening with the coaching that's going on in the NFL right now, Big C?
Well, it's the greatest time of the year when the playoffs roll around. And, guys, good to be back with you again.
Happy New Year, brother.
Happy New Year, brother.
Happy New Year.
Glenn, I got a bunch of people still pissed off at me from last week about those wings you didn't get fed.
Oh, the chicken wings.
Hey, you know what? I'm telling you, man.
What I miss.
Just give me the number right now over the air, and I'll call them myself and have them FedExed out to me.
Hey, all right. I could do that for you, man.
That's funny. What are your thoughts on the coaching carousel, Big C?
Hey, you know what? I'm going to give you that number real quick. 916-786 6655.
6655.
That's Bun Sports Pub and Grub, baby. You tell them about us. They got the wings, brother, and that will fly them right out to you.
Do they fly them to the East Coast, though?
They will. They will.
I'll get them myself. I still got a half a dozen guys sitting here at the house waiting.
They won't leave.
All right.
Oh, my goodness.
Let's get back to this coaching carousel. I mean, the hottest name on the hot stove right now is Nick Saban. Everybody's talking about Nick Saban potentially leaving Alabama.
Saban.
Yes.
Nick Saban makes $7.4 million a year at Alabama.
Yes.
Most NFL coaches.
Yeah.
Well,
Average.
that's most of them. But you got to also understand the 49ers just fired a coach, Jim Tomasula.
Yeah.
They paid him $14.1 million for 1 year of coaching.
That is stupid.
Doing an inept job.
Yes.
Wow.
So is Saban overpriced? No, he's not.
No,
He would be a
Not by a
bargain to
long
come
shot.
in.
Nothing against Charlton. Nothing against Charlton, but you know what? I think Charlton could have coached the 49ers better.
Hey,
he would have took half of that.
I'll take half of that, too.
Yeah.
Actually,
You
I want
accept the
14 billion.
But the 49ers need to get it right this time. They need to hit a home run when they hire a coach. I mean, there's several of them out there. Chip Kelly's out there.
Yeah.
Tom Coughlin would be great to bring the organization back into old-time leadership.
Yeah.
I mean, his coaching days are not done.
No.
Not
You look
by
at the
a long
Cleveland
shot.
Browns. The 49ers have basically become the Cleveland Browns of the West Coast. They were a very proud franchise in the 80s and 90s in the NFL, a flagship organization.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
But they let go of Harbaugh. The ownership had an ego, and that's what cost Harbaugh his job. But they replaced him with Tomasula, and I mean the team went in the tank. And it's too proud of an organization in the NFL to have at that level.
Yeah, what did Harbaugh say? Remember, he tweeted out, "You reap what you sow." That's a subliminal message to Tom Sula and the 49ers.
Now, there's also been a chain of coaches that came out of Stanford, if you recall. Walsh, Dennis Green, Harbaugh, Tyrone Willingham.
Yes.
David Shaw is one of the hottest commodities there is in college football. when you talk about a coach, and they talk about Saban, but David Shaw runs a pro-style offense at Stanford.
Mm-hmm.
He's probably had more players go to the NFL than any other team in the Pac-12.
He has. He
so
has.
If you're going to look at a coach, I'm not looking your own backyard. You don't have to do a national search. If you want the best guy for the job that you just had one came from that alma mater of Stanford,
Yes.
bring in David Shaw. You'll get instant
Well,
success.
Big C, think about this. Now, we talked about Saban and how much money he makes. There was a time, Glenn, when he actually held Alabama hostage by interviewing with Texas, and then Alabama upped his pay by another $2 million. But
I
Big
remember
C,
that.
Do you think that he would have went to Texas, though, if they would have matched Alabama?
maybe because money
Probably.
talks. Money talks. But Big C,
Yeah.
I want
Oh,
you to
yeah.
just hit on this. When you think about a college football coach, what type of lifestyle does Nick Saban have, and what would he be giving up? Because he is the king of Alabama right now.
Well, there's three things in Alabama, okay? And they go in this order. They go with church, they go with God, and they go with Nick Saban.
Yes.
He's the most powerful individual in Alabama.
Yes.
This is a guy that does, the salary cap, he controls the salary cap at Alabama. It's not like the NFL,
Right.
where you have to deal with free agency,
Yes.
you have to deal with the GM, you have to deal with an owner. He is the owner of that program in Alabama, which is the NFL's number 33 franchise anyway.
And I believe
it's
he
just-
also has a car dealership. I believe he's well taken on. And this is what people have to think about. Unlike the average person, Glenn,
Yeah.
when you're in a position like Saban, and there are teams holding off Big C to say who they're going to take until the national championship game is over. But here's a guy who I believe owns a Mercedes-Benz dealership, or his name is attached to it. However it is, he has a lot of perks for being the king
Yeah.
in Alabama that he won't get in the NFL.
Yeah,
Glenn.
Alabama in the South is like the most coveted job here in California. If you are the coach of USC,
Yeah.
no, seriously, that's the most coveted job in California. That's well known, and he is the king of the
He's the
South.
king. He's the king
And
of
you
the
know what?
South.
Without a shadow of a doubt, if we were talking earlier, if he ran for governor,
Mm-hmm.
he'd win.
He'd be a shoe
Hands
in.
down. You talked about Texas giving, courting him last year,
Yeah.
and he's getting another $2 million from Alabama after that. Not only did they give him another $2 million in salary, but they paid off the mortgage on his house, which was between $3.5 and $4 million. The
Oh,
Boosters did.
man.
Wow.
So it didn't come out of the athletic fund. So
That's
if
good.
Saban is ever tied to a place or an organization,
Mm-hmm.
he's tied to Alabama in many ways. He owns the Mercedes dealership there, so the fans and the boosters are constantly paying him by buying cars also.
Yeah,
So
why
when
would
he-
he leave? That's heaven on earth for him right there.
Plus, when he
know,
flies, he probably flies first class.
in someone's
He
jet.
has a corporate jet that
there
he
you
flies
go.
in
There
you go.
that is provided.
You
So
think?
he's not
There it
waiting
is.
in line. He doesn't wait in line at TSA.
No.
He
Not
doesn't
at
do
all.
that. So when people talk about on the national stage that everybody, Nick Saban is going here,
Yeah.
they don't understand what Nick Saban has. Why
Right.
leave being
Yeah.
God, winning every year, only losing one, maybe two games?
Yeah.
Where if you go to an NFL organization where he's been in Miami already,
Yes.
and he was 4-7 in his first year,
Right.
he doesn't like losing.
Exactly.
Right. And when he goes out recruiting, he doesn't have to say much.
Not-
Alabama
No,
is
speaks
all
for
he needs
itself.
to say.
Paul
You
Bear
know?
Bryant,
How
yeah.
many national championships since 2009? You got 9, 11, and 12, and you're going to add another one this year. That's all I'm going to say.
There we go. Now you're
you get
talking.
the athletes wanting to come play for you. You don't have to chase them, as you said, Glenn.
Right.
They come to your house. Can I play for you?
Exactly.
Well, let me ask you this question, Big C, because I know you cover sports you're in the East Coast, and in Alabama, if you go to the NFL, probably taking a step down in prestige because now you're in a situation where you're just on a revolving door in
Yeah.
the NFL. But he could live the rest of his life in Alabama if he wants to. But a question I want to ask you now, Glenn, we all see
Yeah.
the antics, and Stacey, we see the antics of someone like Saban who can actually get in the face of some of the players
Yeah.
because they're college kids. They have no authority.
Right.
They have
Right.
no money.
Yeah.
They can't challenge you without fear of losing
Their scholarship.
Exactly.
So how would that play? Let's just say for the sake of it. Let's say he ended up in a place like Miami. Not that he's going to. But how can he come at Dominican Sue with that attitude that players don't have to put up with anymore?
I think he's got the respect. He will go in the respect. He'll be the godfather, the John Gotti of the football world, and he'll go in there.
Interesting words, John Gotti.
Thank you. He's already got the respect. I think he could.
Are you trying to send a
But
message,
how
Glenn?
far will that go?
Subliminal message. There
These
you
are
go.
men against men. Now, you said college kids. Remember,
Yes.
they are still classified as college kids.
College
So we're
kids.
talking about men against men now.
Exactly.
And I think he'll win that battle.
So,
I
Big
really
C, what do you think
Up
of
to
that?
you.
You've seen the coaching carousel. You know they got rid of Chip Kelly in Philadelphia
He was a
because
joke.
they don't want people to stand up to the players, it seems. How would his mentality work in the NFL again?
Well, in the NFL, you just can't cut players like you can in college. You have salary cap implications. And so you're only going to be able to go out to get 3, 4, maybe 5 players a year that may hopefully impact your team when you're out there on the free agency and the draft market. So in college, when you can go out, if you look at Alabama's roster, they have 40 Under Armour All-Americans on his roster
my God,
at
yeah.
Alabama this year.
Enough for a whole conference.
40 All-Americans, high school All-Americans on his team. That's why he's successful. You're not going to get 40 All-Americans on a pro football team because you just can't afford them under the salary cap. Plus, you can't intimidate. A player will get you gone in the NFL. Many head coaches have lost their job because players are underperforming. And it's easier to get rid of the one than it is the 53.
Well,
Right.
think about it, too, and I'll go back to Glenn after I ask you this question.
Yeah.
And Stacey, you can chime in if you want to also.
Yeah.
Now, I know that we look at Chip Kelly and his West Coast style. Now, it worked at Oregon because he recruited, and as we talked about, most of his players at Oregon, Glenn, they were from Southern California.
Yeah.
And it's a shame that USC and UCLA can't win, and they keep losing the top-flight athletes in the country to Oregon.
There's a
or-
reason for that.
A reason for that.
Uncle Phil Knight.
Yep, Uncle Phil has a lot of money. It's nice to have him on the Christmas list. So when you think about Chip Kelly, Big C, how would he go over in the San Francisco market? It's a little bit different because they have an expectation of winning. Would they take Chip Kelly? He didn't win a national championship at Oregon, but he has this new offense that NFL players really can't keep up to that pace. How would you see him fitting in there?
San Francisco was suited to run personnel-wise a Chip Kelly offense when you had Colin Kaepernick playing quarterback.
Yes.
I think if he came to San Francisco, you got an egotistical owner and GM that would not allow him personnel control.
Yes.
But they would bring in the personnel to fit around Kaepernick. They tried to make some changes this past season and lost a lot of the personnel that fit in with what Harbaugh and Kaepernick's capabilities were.
Yes.
And thought that they had the mindset such as a Jerry Jones that we can go out and buy the groceries and make them fit. In the system, it doesn't work that way.
Yes.
If you brought Chip Kelly in to tutor Colin Kaepernick, I think the offense could get up to speed a lot quicker than you can with another head coach. If you bring in a different head coach other than Chip Kelly, Kaepernick has to go because he doesn't fit everyone's scheme.
And the thing, if they did bring in Chip Kelly, and my thinking is, then they would have to acknowledge that they screwed up. They already had a great quarterback, and they tried to make the problems Kaepernick's fault.
That's right.
And that's
It
why
was not his
it
fault.
wasn't his fault
By any means.
The O line's gone, the D line's gone. But if you're going to build around someone, no one's saying be Joe Montana, but he's more like a Steve Young, just bigger, stronger, and faster. So in the next 2 minutes, Big C, I know that there's so much talk about who the 49ers might bring in, but I just want to transition before we go to the break. The NFL's meeting, I believe, next week to talk about 3 possible teams that might go to Los Angeles. Okay? There's football coming back to the West Coast. Even the NFL Network is going to build a bigger studio in Southern California. There's so much happening in the media. In the next minute and a half, what are your thoughts on the 3 teams that are being talked about to go to Los Angeles because Chip Kelly might end up down there anyway?
I think the worst move that the NFL could do would be allow 3 teams to go into Los Angeles. The most natural fit
2
would be bring the Rams back.
I know
The
that's
Los
right.
Angeles Rams.
Yeah. All right.
Leave San Diego in San Diego. Leave Oakland in Oakland. Oakland's been devastated by losing a team over a decade ago.
Yep.
Don't do that to that city again. But if you bring the Rams back, it's a natural fit. The L.A. Rams, they spent over 50 years there. So don't, bring them back in, embrace them, build the stadium, leave San Diego down there, build a stadium in San Diego. They need one. Build one in Oakland. But if you put 3 teams in L.A., the market's oversaturated. It can't support it. It'll be devastating.
Well, you know what? I get it. I've been to Qualcomm and I've been to Petco Park both. Okay, get rid of Qualcomm. Why don't the Chargers share Petco with the Padres for a little bit, and keep them there as well? But you know what? I believe you're right. The Rams to come here or just start something from the ground up.
The Rams deserve their own stadium.
They do.
They deserve
And
fresh,
Sam Bradford's the OU
new
guy. Brother, if you're listening, Boomer Sooner.
Boomer Sooners. And
Come to the
also-
West Coast, baby. I'll buy you a beer.
California is where it's happening, and also Epic Sports Radio, the #1 fastest growing, hottest sports show in the state of California. You can listen to us every Wednesday at 4 o'clock p.m. Pacific Standard Time, worldwide on Money 105.5.
This message is to all veterans who are in pain right now. Pain Relief Now in Fair Oaks has a laser treatment that reduces pain in real time. Guaranteed. All day tomorrow they are treating veterans for free. So if you have pain of any kind and you're a veteran, call right now to get an appointment before they fill up. That's Pain Relief Now at 855-45-RELIEF. Again, that's 855-45-RELIEF. Or visit their website at painreliefnow.com.
Get life insurance in 3 easy steps. California license number 0180132. Number 1, no physical. Number 2, no blood test. Number 3, no medical exam. Qualify for $5,000 or more in final expense. Affordable rates. We cover the VA and seniors. Ask a senior life agent to contact you about retirement, annuities, and a life insurance policy. Call 916-896-5757. Protect the people you love. Call 916-896-5757.
X-Life Power Boards is revolutionizing the way you travel. Our boards are intelligent, innovative, and empowering. These boards feature Bluetooth speaker, 2 motors, Samsung long life battery. They are waterproof and dustproof, and they are faster than most models out there on the market. And you can buy a board for as low as $72 a month. So come join us at X-Life and get a board. Live free, ride free. XLPowerboards.com.
At Gamble Insurance Agency, we put the odds in your favor. We handle most or all of your insurance needs and act as your insurance advisor. We will put together a suitable buying strategy with your financial future in mind. We are an independent farmers agency. Call Kit Gamble for a free farmers-friendly review of your insurance policy at 530-772-5041. That is 530-772-5041.
Rescue Sports Water is the first water that has been fused with 50 milligrams of potassium, which can help prevent muscle cramping and more. It still has that smooth taste. For more information, go to rescuesportswater.com.
Money 105.5. This is Epic Sports Radio on Money 105.5 and Money1055.com.
Welcome back to the show. My name is Charlton Curry with Stacey Harris, Glenn Spillman, and Big C. We talk NFL football, and we know this is a great Happy New Year, but also for you advertising businesses out there, we're worldwide.
Yep.
The top show in California. And so, Glenn, how can they advertise?
You can advertise with us, and I'm not going to go into a big, long speech about how great that it is to advertise on Epic Sports Radio, but give me a call, 916-633-4851. And I just want to let everyone know that this segment right here is brought to you by Kaylee York on the East Coast. We love her. She's helped us out a lot. And I'm just going to, if you go to ironsideintel.com, check her out. She has many services that she provides: business plans, research and development, lead generation, tech consulting, contract analysis and mitigation, financial advising, investment relations. I know that's a mouthful, but, Kaylee York, go to that website again, ironsideintel.com. Or if you don't get any of this information that you hear, and if I'm talking too fast, give me a call at 916-633-4851, and I'll give you all that information.
Sounds good.
There
Sounds good.
it
Now,
is.
and Stacey, I know you also had something you wanted to mention.
I do.
And you can mention that, and then we'll come back to Glenn.
Absolutely. I just want to send a special shout out and a prayer attached to former Chicago Bears star, 85 Super Bowl, Shuffle.
He's
William.
a Super Bear, too.
Super
Yeah.
Bear, Sugar Bear.
Yeah.
Anyways, William Refrigerator Perry, he was hospitalized last night for a
Yeah,
leg
all of our
infection.
prayers go out to
So-
him. And I
All
know
of our
that's kind of the
thoughts go to him.
cliche thing for some
Man.
people to say,
But
all
it's
of our
true.
But this
prayers,
guy-
but seriously, I mean, this guy, there's a story that we were talking about
There's a
earlier,
story
and we'll
behind
talk
it.
about that later, but
Yeah.
you
He's
know
a
what?
really special guy.
He
and
is.
let's
He's
keep
really
him in our
cool.
prayers.
But you know what? I want to, I want to say a happy belated birthday to Taye Diggs.
Taye Diggs.
Taye Diggs, I mean, he's an actor, and he's an awesome actor. And Charlton is one of his favorite actors. And a happy belated birthday. All these people that are following us on Twitter, Taye Diggs, George Wrightster, he's a former NFL player.
Right on.
We've got the Stockton Heat, the AAA hockey team. We've got Zach Boychek. He's a Carolina Hurricane presently right now. I want to give a shout-out to Zoreen, who is a reporter for Fox 11 in L.A.
Los Angeles.
And she's
Right on.
chilling with us. And also Paul DeLuca, former MLB player and all-star. These are the type of people that follow us on Twitter. And you know what? People are tweeting us live right now. I just want to give a shout-out to the Business Impact Zone. You could follow, they're here in Sacramento. You could follow them at Biz Impact Zone on Twitter. These guys are kind of cool. They've shouted out on Twitter, and these guys are awesome. Check them out.
And also, speaking of checking things out, Big C, before we get back into you, we also have an audience growing in Australia, Paris,
Down
France,
under.
Dubai, Colombia, Canada.
Don't forget Croatia, brother.
Croatia as well. So we thank everyone for
Croatia.
that. And then, Big C, as we jump back into the NFL, we know that the Jets were playing for their playoff lives, and they fell against Buffalo, and that let the Steelers get in. But what are your thoughts on the Steelers? They have everything rolling. I know they don't have Le'Veon Bell, but they're playing a big game against Cincinnati, and they don't have the big redhead. So what are your thoughts on the Steelers going against
Redheaded stepchild.
the redheaded? Well, Andy
You guys are
Dalton's
wrong for
amazing.
that.
But what are your thoughts on them and Cincinnati this weekend, Big C? Are you there, Big C?
All right, well, we got a little technical difficulty. A little gremlin got in our studio here.
Well, we know we have gremlins, but Glenn,
yes.
as we get into that game, I know you
Yeah.
had the point spread
Yeah.
on the Steelers and the Texans.
Yeah, we've
So-
got got Houston. They're underdogs by 3.5 points right now. Still steady
Yes.
right now against the Chiefs. But you know what? The Chiefs are kind of the Hollywood story right now.
They
started
shocked.
0-5, and they've won every game since then. But you know what? Against Houston, they're going to go into Houston, and I'm telling you, man, I think Houston's going to slap them around, kind of like
Show them who they were from the beginning.
exactly.
That's a big statement. And I know, Big C, we have you back on the line. We talked about the Steelers and also playing Cincinnati, and then also coming up with Houston and Kansas City. What are your thoughts on those two big playoff matches?
Well, Ben Roethlisberger, is there a better playoff quarterback right now in the NFL? There's normally two quarterbacks you don't want to see in the playoffs. That's Ben Roethlisberger and Eli Manning.
Yeah.
When they get in the playoffs, they have a tendency to make it to the Super Bowl. He's been there twice. You realize they knocked out Cincinnati about 5 years ago going to the Super Bowl.
Yes.
And Carson Palmer was a quarterback in Cincinnati at that time. But Ben Roethlisberger is just throwing the ball all over the field, even without Le'Veon Bell. He's a big guy. He finds his targets down the field, and the defense is playing outstanding in Pittsburgh right now. And you talked about the Kansas City game. I like Kansas City, Glenn. I like Kansas City going all the way. When you win 10 games
All
in a
right.
row in the NFL, on any level, you have to be a force to be reckoned with. And Alex Smith, he was labeled as a game manager when he was in San Francisco.
Yeah.
He is a quarterback right now under Andy Reid's tutelage. He reminds me a lot of Donovan McNabb when Andy Reid was in Philadelphia,
Yes.
getting his team to the playoffs. Now, they lost the game a couple of years ago against the Colts when the Colts had this miraculous comeback in the second half.
Yes.
But right now, the Chiefs are a complete team. And when you talked about them losing those games early in the year,
Yeah.
4 or 5 of their key defensive starters are out. All
Right.
of those guys are healthy now. So watch out for Kansas City.
You know, Kansas City is going to be a great city to be in this year if the Chiefs do go on to win a Super Bowl. You just had the Royals, throw down in MLB, but if the Chiefs go all the way, I'll tell you what, Big C, if the Chiefs go all the way, wherever you're at and wherever you're around, I will buy you dinner wherever you're at. But I tell you what, if they don't go and they do lose, you got to do the same for me, man.
Well,
I'll FedEx you out some chips.
we know that going into this frigid weather here in the Midwest, the Seattle Seahawks, they're playing at Minnesota.
Yeah.
And they've already beaten them before. But Adrian Peterson leading the league in rushing.
Boomer Sooner.
But Big C, Russell Wilson, he could be a co-MVP of the league because he's been incredible the last half of the season. What are your thoughts on that game going up playing in frigid weather?
Not just the last half of the season. Russell Wilson has been a complete quarterback this year in Seattle. Russell Wilson has set a record as far as NFL quarterbacks this year to pass over 4,000 yards,
Yes.
30 touchdowns, and rush for over 500 yards. You hate to see a player go down in the system, but when Beast Mode went down and Jimmy Graham, Russell Wilson found his wings.
Yeah.
He understood that as far as Seattle was going to go, they need to get on his back. And he took command of that team like any true quarterback should.
Yes.
He showed complete leadership. And this team, last week, they destroyed Arizona.
God.
Boy.
No one thought Arizona would lose again the rest of the year.
That was an anomaly, though.
But
that,
do you
that wouldn't
think
happen again, I
Arizona
don't
really
think.
cared, really? Honestly?
To be honest,
They wanted to keep people healthy.
no.
Yeah.
But
Yes.
Healthy.
everybody on the field is being paid to play.
Right.
It's a difference in losing and being embarrassed.
Right.
They were embarrassed. And it's hard to get your momentum back when you've gone out, you've been drubbed by 35 points. You just don't always kickstart the engine.
Right. And you know what? But
Say
on that
drag.
note, I've been in locker rooms where players were talking about winning and losing. And I asked a player one time about how he felt about losing. And he said to me, I'm never going to mention his name, but he said, you know what? Whether I win or whether I lose, my paycheck still has the same numbers on them.
Ain't that about
But,
okay?
You're
but
saying
see,
they
the
don't
guys
bounce
who
checks in
say-
the NFL?
Go ahead, Nick. The guys who say that have never won a championship.
Thank
That's
you.
the
Thank
key.
you.
And they haven't.
The guy-
Just saying.
Yeah, they've never won a championship.
So when you think of championships again, and Pete Carroll, again, he had the great run at USC. We talked about maybe Saban coming back to the NFL. We know it's worked twice for Pete Carroll. But Pete Carroll, I know they're still licking themselves over not giving the ball to Beast Mode last year. But you just touched on something very powerful, I think. They brought in a tight end, all-pro tight end, and they kind of took a back seat because they lost some of that chemistry. But now that they don't have to count on that anymore, and you've seen Russell Wilson really mature into the leader that he has been over the last several years, you think he can push for the league MVP, or is it just Cam Newton's to take?
Well, it could be a co-MVP this year. I think Cam will win it because of the 14-1 record. Russell has proven, though. I mean, when you talk about Pete Carroll's tenure in Seattle
Yes.
since he's been back from USC, has there been a better coach in the NFL? I know we talk about Sean Payton in this free agent carousel, even though he's going to stay
Yes.
with New Orleans.
Yeah.
But Sean Payton hasn't won anything since Greg Williams, his defensive coordinator, there was a defensive coordinator during Bountygate, left the team.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah, I don't think
New Orleans
Sean was
hasn't
going to
done
go
anything.
anywhere anyway. I really don't think
Yeah.
he was going to go anywhere.
He's not going to go anywhere, but when people sit back and evaluate him as a coach, his defensive coordinator was a key to his success in New Orleans when they won the championship. You remember they beat the Vikings
Yeah.
and
Well,
beat Brett Favre to death in the championship game.
the
When they
40-year-old
had Bountygate.
Brett Favre,
Yeah, but they had Bountygate.
Grandpa
and
Brett.
he had some defensive players that played lights out. Those defensive players are no longer with the team, nor is that defensive coordinator. It's been trying to fill it in since then. So head coaches are great in the NFL, but it's the coordinators
Yes.
who make a team successful. And you look around at every successful franchise, New England has had the same offensive coordinator for the past 7 years.
Yeah.
Right.
So they've had success offensively. And when you go up and down the ledger of the winning teams, offensive coordinators don't go anywhere. They stay in-house. Defensive coordinators stay in-house, and the team keeps winning.
And Belichick's been steady at the helm. But thinking about something that hasn't been steady at the helm, and the next 2 minutes that we have before we go to the break, and we also have a special guest, two-time Super Bowl champion from the San Francisco 49ers. He's going to be on the show as well. But think about this, Big C, the instability that we have in Denver with Osweiler and also Manning. Now, there's some controversy there. It's like the new girlfriend meets the old girlfriend. Which one do you stick with? What are your thoughts on Peyton Manning and then Osweiler going into the playoffs?
Well, they're going to stick with Peyton Manning going
Thank
into the
you.
playoffs.
Thank
They
you.
had an excuse last week when they put Peyton Manning in because Osweiler wasn't playing well.
Right.
If Peyton didn't perform well, then they could play Osweiler. But
Yeah.
by Peyton coming in and playing at Peyton's level,
Yes.
it was the key to say, hey, the guy is back. Now all of a sudden he gets another 2 weeks rest on top of the 4 weeks rest he just came off of. Peyton Manning will come out lights out in that first playoff game that they play in the second round.
Yep.
He'll be the Peyton Manning of old. He'll push the ball down the field. The running game came back into form in Denver. He's going to be in the shotgun. He's not going to be up under the center like Oswald's. But, the players perform for Peyton Manning.
Yes.
Certain players have an inept ability to make others bring out the best in themselves.
Right.
Peyton does that for his teammates.
In the next minute, Stacey has a comment also about the game.
I sure do. I love your analogy with the whole new girlfriend meets the old girlfriend. I'll tell you this much. Us in Denver,
We don't have a problem with the wives and the mistresses.
Us in Denver.
Are you
You're
from
here.
Paris?
I
What
think
the heck?
there's room for both quarterbacks.
No.
Yes.
Well, only one can go under the
I
center.
think there's room for both quarterbacks.
Well, we will definitely find out, because when you look at a person who's won as much as Peyton Manning, even if he struggles, Glenn, they always have a chance to give him more leeway. But Osweiler, if he comes in and plays horribly,
He's
they want,
done.
They want to ship him off.
Yeah.
So
well, there's backup.
Cleveland.
the
There's
Cleveland-
backup.
Oh, my goodness. And speaking of Cleveland, every Wednesday at 4 o'clock p.m. Pacific Standard Time, you can listen to Epic Sports Radio worldwide with the Salem Media app on Money 105.5.
From the Big Mountain Heating, Air, and Solar Traffic Center, Charlie Simons.
Across the top of town, a lot of slow travel, both directions, and that's from the construction going on in center lane closure at Norwood Avenue. 80 eastbound, westbound, doesn't matter on either side of Norwood. It's going to be stop and go. And 80 heading eastbound at 65, trying to get up into Roseville. It's going to be real sluggish for you as well, with ramp restrictions causing a lot of delays. 65 and 80 where they meet. 50 heading eastbound. At 65th Street, we have ramp restrictions. And if you catch something I happen to miss, let me know at the MaidaCars.com traffic tip line at 830-3077. That's how you're driving. I'm Charlie Simons.
If you want to be the best in your profession, then it makes sense to join the best team. That's why top professionals in real estate are joining with Hybrid Brokers Realty. At Hybrid Brokers Realty, state-of-the-art technology is combined with good old-fashioned business sense to create a winning team that is revolutionizing the business of real estate. Whether you're a new agent or a veteran, you need to join with the winning team at Hybrid Brokers Realty. Go to wearehbr.com to see what Hybrid Brokers Realty has to offer you and be prepared to climb on board with the fastest-growing brokerage today. BRE license number 0977652.
Hi, it's Kitty, back again for Lexus of Sacramento. Let's suppose for a moment that between quality, service, and price, you could only choose two. Which would you choose? Well, at Lexus of Sacramento, they never make you choose because they'll deliver on all three daily. Quality, service, and price. Don't ever feel like you have to compromise on any of them. Go beyond expectations. Go to Lexus of Sacramento, 2600 Fulton Avenue, or online at lexusofsacramento.com.
Money 105.5 has a new show featuring experienced elder law attorney Justin M. Gilbert. He answers questions regarding estate planning, changes to trust law, Medi-Cal, veterans benefits, protecting your property from the cost of long-term care, and other topics the insurance companies do not want you to know about.
Listen every Tuesday morning at 10 on Money 105.5 or contact Justin at 916-932-2108, 932-2108, or go to justinmgilbert.com and listen to Legacy Planning Radio every Tuesday morning at 10 on Money 105.5.
Sacramento's Money 105.5. Money 105.5 with Epic Sports Radio.
Welcome back to the show. My name is Charlton Curry with Glenn Stillman, Stacey Harris, and Big C. We're talking NFL football. We also have a special guest, a two-time Super Bowl champion from the San Francisco 49ers. But before we go to him, Glenn has a few things to say about some advertising sponsors.
You know what? Give me a call, 916-633-4851. You know what? I want to thank Buns Sports Pub and Grub. You can get a hold of them at 916-786-6655. They're at 311 Judah Street in Roseville. Tonight and every Wednesday night, they have Wing Wednesday. They got phenomenal deals. You want to go check them out on Tuesday. They got Taco Tuesday. But you know what? Plexus. I have been filling around with Plexus the past week or so, and I'm actually currently drinking their Slim drink right now that I'm putting in my water. It's pink. Real men wear pink, I guess. But
I
you
love
know what?
his descriptive
Thank
details
you.
here.
But you know what? For more on Plexus, you know, they've got other stuff that they offer. Get a hold of Julie Travis Wright. You can find her on Facebook, but you can also call her at 916-223-6450, and she will explain everything to you on this. But you know what? With this, I've actually had a little bit more energy on this. I know that's kind of the cliched thing to say on some of these things, but you know what? It's true. And I do not promote anything that if it doesn't do anything for me. But, you know, it says weight loss. I haven't really experienced anything like that.
You wouldn't promote any bad substances or anything that's banned from...
No.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm just checking.
We'll leave that to your boy
I'm
Peyton.
just checking.
Anyway, that's all I got to say about that. But you know what? Get a hold of me for advertisement. Again, 916 633-4851.
And speaking of NFL football, last week we had the NFL Network. I also want to thank our friends at ESPN that listen in weekly to Epic Sports Radio. We have a two-time Super Bowl champion, Chuck Thomas, and Chuck Thomas actually played when the 49ers were actually great, so it might be a little bit difficult for him seeing what's happened to the organization. And, Chuck, you also
Let's talk about the real team he played for.
the Oklahoma Sooners?
The Boomer Sooners, baby.
Oh, go right ahead.
I thought they were the losers.
Yeah,
you corrected me earlier.
I think they lost that championship
all right,
game.
All right. You got me on that one.
But, Chuck, you're also the one of two centers to actually be the center for Joe Montana and Steve Young, and they're in the Hall of Fame. So as we welcome you onto the show, I appreciate it very much. But what are your thoughts going back to Oklahoma? You were actually playing under Barry Switzer, and I believe you helped recruit Brian Bosworth.
Hey, guys. Glenn, hello.
How you doing, brother?
Yeah, we don't have the bragging rights with Texas or for going for the Nationals
Texas?
this year.
No.
So we have to put it on the shelf, But, yeah, Charleston, thanks so much, everybody, and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Yeah, but before I get into my background and everything, my story a little bit, I just want to put a plug in for Mr. David Shaw in for our coach.
Wow.
The 49ers. So,
wow.
Those guys just look like they play with poise and have so much confidence. And whatever that guy is doing, it's magic.
Well,
so,
give me the why for David Shaw then. Don't plug
Why?
him. Give me the why.
The why?
Yeah,
I mean,
why?
just look at the players.
Yeah.
They don't showboat. They just remind me a lot of a team that wins with class. They do their job. They're in the zone. You can just sense it. And so whatever they're doing, they've got the magic formula, and it's almost like you can detect it. It's something that goes back to when I made it with the Niners. I'd been playing with two other teams before I got there, and of course this is back in the 45-man roster days, guys. So. Now there's 13 more roster spots on every team, but I've been cut by the Houston Oilers and played a couple of years with Atlanta. But I remember when I got to the Niners, it was something was extremely different about the aura, the energy of that club. And, of course, they had Bill Walsh. They'd won a couple of Super Bowls before I got there. But I remember once I finally did make the team, guys, and I finally got to meet Eddie DeBartolo.
Yes.
And I was just like, because you're playing it for yourself, of course. You're playing it for the reasons to get to the championship. But, Eddie was so generous to us when I was a player.
Yes.
You wanted to get back to the guy.
Yeah, Ed's going up right now for the Hall of Fame. So, yeah.
Is he? Really?
Yeah.
You should definitely get in.
Fantastic.
But Chuck, think about this, too. We have about 8 minutes left on this segment, but I want you to think about this. You talked about maybe Shaw could be a good fit. You've played under Barry Switzer, who also coached in the NFL with the Dallas Cowboys, won a Super Bowl with them. Won the Super Bowl. But when you talk about coaching, what was Bill Walsh like?
You know what? Hey, real quick, tell him the story that you told us, the locker room speech. Tell us that story.
Okay, well, a lot of y'all are going to have to put your memory way back in the zone here. I played, my first year was in 1985, and what Glenn's referencing is the 1988 season, and I don't know how many of y'all remember that year, but we actually won the Super Bowl against Cincinnati in the last 39 seconds of the game.
Yes.
Where Joe did a phenomenal comeback and went all the way down the field. Saw John Candy in the stands. Remember that, guys?
Okay.
and then marched all the way down and hit John. But but getting back to Bill, at one point in that 1988 season, guys, we were 6-5.
Yes.
And I remember to this day the feeling of losing to our arch rival, the Raiders, walking in that locker room. The score was 10-3. We couldn't even score a touchdown.
Right.
I mean, that's how pathetic we were. The defense was beat up. The offense was just out of sync. We had no running game for whatever reason. And so I remember when we were walking in, we got our heads down. And y'all checked on it earlier. Your paycheck's still the same whether you win or lose.
Yeah.
I remember walking into that locker room going, uh-oh, the season's over.
Right.
And I'm thinking to myself, I'm just going to do my best for myself at this point because, there's probably no chance we're going to get to the playoffs. But as we're walking in, Bill Walsh, after he got everybody in, he throws his playbook down on the ground, and he goes, "Guys, get in here. I got something to say." He goes, "I don't know what's wrong with you guys, but we're going to get it straightened out right here, right now." He said, "From this point on, it's a new season." He said, and New Orleans was 9-2,
right.
Okay, and they were in our division, so we'd already played them once and beat them, and so he said New Orleans New Orleans was always known for choking. He said they're going to do what they always do. They're going to choke on their own success. He mapped it out for us. He said we're going to win 3 games. He said. Defense, you're going to get in the training room and you're going to get yourself healed up. Offense, you're going to start clicking on all cylinders to get your act together. In special teams, you're going to have to carry the load until these 2 groups can get it together. He said New Orleans is going to choke on their own success. He said we're going to win our next 3 games. They're going to lose their next 3 games. We're going to play Minnesota in an NFC playoff game. We're going to go into the Super Bowl. He said come to practice Monday with that attitude, or don't come back at all.
And that's great story, because a lot of people know that Bill Walsh is great, but in the next 2 minutes that we have left, Chuck, if you can, we know that Steve Young and Joe Montana, Hall of Fame quarterbacks, you snapped the ball to both of those guys. We see them on these commercials with pizza and the Hall of Fame guys. Talk quickly about Joe Montana and Steve Young. What made those 2 guys so great?
Well, the dynamic was, as you can tell, I mean, one was a scat back running back, Steve Young. He was backing up Joe, and I was backing up Randy Cross at the time. I was just, happy to be on a team finally. But I would say Joe's strength is that he commands authority on the field. He knows Bill's system very well. We always had an outlet receiver for him to throw to with Tom Rathman checking a blitz, and he would leak out in flat. So a lot of our plays were run-oriented. And so they looked like a run, and they ended up being a pass. So he was the king of the balanced attack. I would say Joe was.
Mm-hmm.
Steve, it was hard to block for Steve because you never really knew where he was.
Another Colin Kaepernick, huh?
Lifting on us, and that wasn't planned. He would just do it on his own. But what a competitor he was. He was just, he just had that fire in his belly to make things right. So when Joe finally stepped down and moved on to Kansas City, and Steve finally got his chance, you saw what would happen. I think his career ended, if I remember right, from the concussion that he had.
Yeah. We talked about that last week with Big C. Also, we had Big C on, and I know you'd like to draw comparisons, Big C, to Alex Smith, and also, Big C, let me just get you in the next minute and a half that we have. What are your thoughts? I want you and Chuck to chime in on this. Alex Smith, what are your thoughts on him? He was in San Francisco when he had success. But what are your thoughts on him leading Kansas City?
Well, I look at Alex Smith, and Chuck, you'll remember another quarterback who played in San Francisco after those last 2, Jeff Garcia.
Yeah.
Alex Smith reminds me a lot of Jeff Garcia. I mean, he's a guy who was called a game manager, but he can make the big plays, and he's doing that now in Kansas City. And you've played with, some of the greatest of all time playing in San Francisco. And when you look at those 2, how would you draw a comparison between Alex Smith and Jeff Garcia?
In the next minute, Chuck.
Well, let me ask you this: who is the offensive coordinator for Kansas City? Has he got a really strong reputation? I don't know who that is, but
Andy
I
Reid.
Do know there's a lot to be said about chemistry,
guys.
I mean, you look what Shanahan did when he left us and took the West Coast offense over to Denver.
You're right.
And was able to give John Elway a couple of Super Bowls. So he hadn't actually brought a balanced attack to the play, whereas they were usually doing 4 wide outs and everything. So there's so much to be said about chemistry, and you saw the raw ugliness of it this year with San Francisco when they didn't have their head on straight.
Well, you guys, we have 1 minute left before we go to the break, but I think Glenn has a question.
You know what? This is actually a question from one of our Twitter followers, X-Life Powerboards. They ask, who do we pick to win the wild card weekend? Big C, Chuck, Charlton, who do you guys got?
I like Seattle, number 1, for myself, and I like Pittsburgh. I'll let you guys chime in.
I like Cincinnati and Kansas City. I like Cincinnati and Seattle.
All right, you know what? I'm going to take Houston and the Vikings, period.
Big C, who do you have?
I like Seattle and Kansas City.
And then, Stacy, who's your choice?
I like Seattle, and I am going with Houston.
All right.
Never bet with the Chiefs.
All right.
Well, I tell you guys what, this has been, it always goes by too fast, but I want to thank everyone. Chuck Thomas, 2-time Super Bowl champion, for being on the program, and everyone who follows. Man, we have so many NFL football players listening to Epic Sports Radio. We are the hottest growing #1 show, sports talk show in California.
Sizzling hot.
Every Wednesday at 4 o'clock p.m. Pacific Standard Time. We are worldwide on Money 105.5.
This message is to all veterans who are in pain right now. Pain Relief Now in Fair Oaks has a laser treatment that reduces pain in real time. Guaranteed. All day tomorrow they are treating veterans for free. So if you have pain of any kind and you're a veteran, call right now to get an appointment before they fill up. That's Pain Relief Now at 855-45-RELIEF. Again, that's 855-45-RELIEF. Or visit their website at painreliefnow.com.
At Gamble Insurance Agency, we put the odds in your favor. We handle most or all of your insurance needs and act as your insurance advisor. We will put together a suitable buying strategy with your financial future in mind. We are an independent farmers agency. Call Kit Gamble for a free farmers-friendly review of your insurance policy at 530-772-5041. That is 530-772-5041.
Rescue Sports Water is the first water that has been fused with 50 milligrams of potassium, which can help prevent muscle cramping and more. It still has that smooth taste. For more information, go to RescueSportsWater.com.
Get life insurance in 3 easy steps. California license number 0180132. Number 1, no physical. Number 2, no blood test. Number 3, no medical exam. Qualify for $5,000 or more in final expense. Affordable rates. We cover the VA and seniors. Ask a senior life agent to contact you about retirement, annuities, and a life insurance policy. Call 916-896-5757. Protect the people you love. Call 916-896-5757.
X-Life Power Boards is revolutionizing the way you travel. Our boards are intelligent, innovative, and empowering. These boards feature Bluetooth speaker, 2 motors, Samsung long life battery. They are waterproof and dustproof, and they are faster than most models out there on the market. And you can buy a board for as low as $72 a month. So come join us at X-Life and get a board. Live free, ride free. XLPowerboards.com.
Money 105.5. The premier show for all your sports needs. Epic Sports Radio on Money 105.5.
Welcome back to the show. My name is Charlton Curry, Glenn Spillman, Big C, and Stacey Harris. We have our special guest, 2-time Super Bowl champion, Chuck Thomas. But, Glenn, you have a statement to make real quick.
Yeah, you know what? I just want to let everyone know. I'm an OU guy. I went to OU, but I wrote an article on epicnewssports.com, our website, and it's called Boomer Loser. And that is talking about the football, and as well as when the Sooners played Kansas, they could have won that game more than once, but you know what? That was a debacle, and I also want, you guys that come out, the MMA people, you come out tonight at ASR Restaurant and Lounge, 390 North Sunrise Avenue. We're going to be talking to and interviewing some of the MMA fighters that are going to be fighting in the WFC 16, January 23rd. We got Max Griffin versus David Mitchell. We got our buddy David Baseman. So come check us out at ASR tonight, and we'll hang out together.
Sounds good. And in the last 4 minutes that we have, I want to thank Chuck Thomas. But Chuck, I want to ask you also. I want you and Big C to give this thought. You know, a lot of athletes listen to our show all across the country, including guys at Fox and NBC. So, Chuck, what advice would you give an athlete about becoming a pro player, and then what are you doing now, Chuck? Go right ahead, sir.
About being a pro player, it's the dynamic has changed so dramatically now, guys, because the dollars are so large in comparison, and a lot of these guys. I did not have an actual mentor. Of course, I had good people around me and everything. But now they can go to these camps, and they can really fine-tune their skills. Because when you go to the Combine, they match you up with 350, heck, it might be more than that now, with all of the talent in your class. And so you're basically competing with the world, the nation's best at that particular time. So I would say get yourself, I can just give you real quick. God, what's his name? Boston College guy that played for OU. Played for the 49ers.
Was he a lineman?
What's his name?
What position?
What position was he, Chuck?
Back in the day that I played. He carried around his own chiropractor.
Yes.
He carried around his own nutritionist. There's so much education available that we did not have back when I played. It's basically, canvas your own information. So I would just say get yourself with a mentor, get yourself with a popular
workout regime,
right,
and just have the eye of the tiger. Because when you get there, even the guys on your offensive linemen, they're your competition.
Are you talking about Bill Romanowski?
Bill Romanowski, thank you so much.
Right.
I had a CTE
there's still a lot of education that still needs to be in the forefront as well.
But let me ask you this, Chuck. Back in the day, we had the salaries and everything. What are your thoughts about the mega salaries of today's NFL players?
In about the next 30 seconds, Chuck.
Yeah, well, of course, I'm all for it. I mean, being a player, that.
Are you all for more money, Chuck? Is that what you're saying?
I would love to go up to the paycheck window and get a $325,000 check instead of a $13,000 check.
You need to meet Nick Saban. Big C, as we close out in the next minute, what are your thoughts? What advice, because you've worked in television and radio and as an athlete too, what advice would you give to young players now? Chuck just talked about having mentors, but what advice would you give in the next 30 seconds to young players?
I think nowadays young players need to be more astute of their surroundings. They have to work more on the education. Chuck can tell you also that the odds of making it as a professional athlete are very minute. When you look at the millions of kids who play in Pop Warner and high school football, and then it's honed down on the professional level.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's not a business that you can get in. It's easier being a doctor than it is a professional athlete. And Chuck spoke about the expedition numbers, how they've grown from when he was playing to where they are now, where you walk up on a weekly basis and you're walking out with $300,000 to $400,000 instead of $10,000 to $15,000 as it was back in the mid '80s.
Yes.
Those are fantasy numbers. But players now need to make sure when they do make it in the league that they get themselves a financial advisor, not a friend, not a family member, but a financial advisor.
Yeah.
That's right.
Someone who knows dollars and cents and is not there to take you for a ride because I'm your friend.
Someone you can
FYI, guys, just so you know, the NFLPA has what they call the trust now, and that's exactly what it's set up to do. So when you get out of football, they transition you now. They've got a whole program set up for that, and that's a conversation for another time.
Well, you guys, that's excellent information. That's excellent information. We only have about a minute left, but I just can't tell you how appreciative I am.
Thank you,
with
guys.
so much happening in the world of sports. We have two of the most successful people that's ever played sports on the program, Epic Sports Radio. So for all you other NFL players listening out there, as we approach the Super Bowl, Glenn and Stacey, everybody's going to be talking football. It's the biggest thing out there. So the best thing you can do, if you want to advertise, you want to be around sports, Glenn.
Yeah, give me a call, 916-633-4851. Stay tuned for a future episode of Epic Sports Radio. Tony the Tiger Lopez going out for mayor is going to be on the show here pretty soon.
And we're still looking for $100 million for our sports movie.
Amen.
Don't forget that. We know the rich people listen to Epic Sports Radio every Wednesday, 4 o'clock p.m. Pacific Standard Time on Money 105.5.